Hello and good evening, Mr. Bond fans, and welcome to another Bond 25 news roundup. It seems that not a week will go by without there being some bizarre sort of Bond 25 news item in the tabloids somewhere. One of the strangest of late I found to be the story that Grace Jones stormed away from the set of Bond 25 in London after she was apparently supposed to have a cameo in the film. So this story kind of started a way back. Like, it was an article a couple of months ago, I think, that said that Grace Jones would be having a cameo in the film, and I just dismissed it as, well, that's quite obviously ludicrous. I cannot even imagine a world where that happens, and then it all went kind of quiet for a few weeks. And then it came back that she'd travelled to London, got to the set, realised that she had a very small number of lines, and then stormed off. Obviously, Grace Jones has a reputation as being, something of a diva, so that doesn't sound out of character entirely, but just the idea that she would be offered a cameo, would be accepted, her management, her agent, her people would accept it, and then fly her out, and then it would come as a surprise to her that she didn't have that many lines, just doesn't ring quite true for me. I think the moral of this particular video, just up front, is gonna be, if you read something in the tabloids about Bond 25, read it with a healthy bit of skepticism and try to look at where the news is actually coming from. I only take things as gospel if it comes from people who I trust personally, or if it is, officially announced by Eon. There's a lot of, articles out there from certain newspapers that are so just, where did you get this information? Oh right, yes, an unnamed source close to the production. Which probably means it's, the friend of the cousin of the aunt of the runner who was on the film for 2 days. So sorry, I'm just checking my phone. I put it out on my Facebook page earlier on. There's been a lot of Bond news recently. Am I forgetting anything? So in better news, of course, Daneil Kleinman, who has designed the opening title scenes from GoldenEye to Spectre, barring Quantum of Solace, is going to return, apparently, for Bond 25. I'm super thrilled about this. GoldenEye is probably my favourite title sequence in the whole of the series. I think he's done a fabulous job on every film he's worked on. Could not be happier to have him coming back. Ah yes, there was also Dan Romer, who was announced as the composer for the film. Can't say I was, obviously I was a little bit disappointed that David Arnold wasn't going to come back. I'm a huge David Arnold fan. He's done some of my favourite soundtracks in the previous films, so I would have loved him to come back. At the same time, I'm not, I wasn't sad by the news. I'm fine for there to be some new blood in the series in certain aspects, and I'm sure he'll bring something really great and fresh and new to this particular Bond adventure. So there was also something about Daniel Craig is apparently wanting Adele to come back to do another title song for this particular one after Skyfall was such a big success, of course, and I seem to remember there was very similar stories to this during Spectre's production, so I'm not sure entirely how true it is, and while I love Skyfall and I would really appreciate Adele coming back, I don't know if she will. I think she probably thinks of the Bond thing as a one-off gig. She kind of got everything she could. She won an Oscar, for goodness sake. How do you top that? You can't. So I'm kind of fine with them having someone new, but I'm not much of a music person, so I'm kind of whoever they get would be kind of alright with me, unless it's Lady Gaga or Muse, the two acts that I would be most thrilled about if they were to do a Bond theme. So moving on to some of the bigger talking points for me, there was reports recently that Lashana Lynch, the actress, of course, cast in Bond 25, is going to be playing 007 in this film. And there was a lot of uproar about this, of sort of oh, she's the next Bond, and she's the next 007, and all this kind of stuff, and it's well, technically, if it is true, then yes, she is the next 007, but she's not, it's the James Bond series. I don't think that Bond 26 is not going to have James Bond in it, and we're going to be following Lashana Lynch as 007. I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm actually quite excited about this idea. It's never happened in the film series before, and of course in the books, Bond loses his 007 status, in a couple of the stories, and he's assigned something else, so I think that's quite cool. I like the idea that Bond has given it up, and then the new 007 has to come, and the former 007 and the new 007 have some kind of adventure together. I think that's really cool. What does annoy me about this particular news piece is that a lot of outlets are just using it for clickbait. There's a lot of, on Twitter and Facebook, a lot of headlines saying, Lashana Lynch is the new 007, and it's obviously phrased that way to generate, it's very misleading. They just want you to click on the article, and then when you look at the comments, it's like, people aren't even reading the article, they're just commenting like, oh, this isn't my James Bond, and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, oh, God, just read it. There was an online article for The Telegraph where the title was something along the lines of, why do we all want Bond 25 to fail? Now, The Telegraph is like a subscription service, so I can't actually read the full article, so I don't want to go to town on it too much, but just like talking about clickbait titles, that is just one of the that's one of the worst and the weakest. I just think it's like, who wants Bond 25 to fail exactly, outside of journalists who for some reason get commissioned time and time again to write these dreadfully uninformed, no knowledge of the Bond series at all articles. It's like, I don't know if all these articles have come out of, all these journalists who grew up and, watched Tomorrow Never Dies in their youth, and now they're like, this series really doesn't like journalism, I'll show them.
There's no news like bad news.
I don't know, it's just like, if the tabloids were anything to go by, you would think that, there would be rioting on the streets, and people rush up to you and grab you and say God, I just don't want to give Bond 25 any money at all. And it's like, no, it's not like that at all. It's just this hysteria, this frenzy whipped up by tabloids who have absolutely nothing better to write about. It just feeds off a lot of negativity, and yeah, you know what, maybe I'm a little bit guilty of it myself. It's like, there are some elements of leading up to Bond 25 that I've been a bit, negative about and whatever, and I feel like, yeah, if it's not that great, like the press reveal thing, the live reveal, that wasn't that great, and I made a video saying this isn't very great, but I'm still excited about the film, for God's sake. I don't want it to fail. That's just... it's just irritating. Anyway, that was a bit of a sidebar, let me get back on track here. So to come to the main article that I want to talk about in this video, it was reported very recently that Christoph Waltz was seen on the set of Bond 25 and that he is going to be reprising the role of Blofeld. It was quite a funny thing, actually. Apparently there was a visitor on the set who saw Christoph Waltz, and Christoph Waltz said something along the lines of, "You never saw me," and walked off, and anyway, obviously, it came out. So as a result of the stuff that I've read, I'm not expecting the part to be anything more than just a cameo. And while I'm excited about the prospect of Christoph Waltz kind of coming back to something a few years on, something that he acknowledged himself he didn't feel that he did very well in Spectre, hopefully now, with a better script and maybe a better direction, he can perhaps give a better performance of Blofeld. If he does give a better performance, that's just going to annoy me more that he didn't do it in the first place in Spectre, and that if his role in this new film is going to be very small, but very good, that will just annoy me more that he isn't the main villain. And it just kind of feeds into the whole thing that I say time and time again, I just want a standalone, really great, 2-hour, entertaining Bond film. I'm not interested in this world-building, cinematic universe, everything's connected kind of thing, and if, Rami Malek's villain is going to be a part of Spectre or something like that, then... Something I did get super excited about, though, was the, the minute-long-ish, behind-the-scenes piece that was released on the official Bond channels some weeks ago. It showed, some of the behind-the-scenes from the Jamaica shoot, and it just looked so colourful and cool. There was, dancing, there was Felix, there was Bond. I was just kind of like, oh wow, this is really cool. The music was a bit odd, but apart from that, it was all I was just glad that it wasn't just that same Bond theme they use time and time again for these things, the breadcrumbs theme from Skyfall. Love that cue, but I don't need to hear it dozens of times. Anyway, that sequence actually did a lot to get me really excited about this one. Like, as much as I love Skyfall, you know, the Sam Mendes films had a certain pompousness to them, and a certain drabness, and a certain muted colour palette, which suited them quite well. But I'm kind of excited that this film will be a bit more colourful, and a bit more vivid, and a bit more kind of visually exciting. There've also been some really cool, like, behind-the-scenes snaps coming from the London shoot as well. The crew have been out and about in Whitehall and in Hammersmith doing some shooting, and it looks really great. It was just with the Hammersmith thing, like, I was just so... because I work in Hammersmith, and they were shooting there on a Friday. They were shooting, like, it looked like morning, around lunchtime-ish kind of thing, on the strip by the River Thames, where I am known to frequent. You know, if it's nice weather, I, you know, will take lunch out there or something, or I'll be, you know, go to the bars there after work. This is, you know, part of a Friday ritual for me, so I was, you know, if I'd have been there, I would have had a good chance of seeing some of the film being shot. However, I was stuck at home with stomach flu. So you can imagine I'm kind of like sat on the sofa at home just feeling sorry for myself, you know, like, oh so much pain, doing my Pierce Brosnan pain face. And then I'm scrolling through Twitter, and what do I see on the, you know, official Bond Twitter but a picture of Hammersmith Bridge, and I just, you know, almost cried. There is just so much news, like, all the time about this film, though. It's very exciting, and if I have missed anything, please do let me know in the comments below. And also, please do look below to find my Facebook and Twitter pages, along with my Patreon page, where you can, if you want to support this channel, then please do head over to there for more details. And also, another little announcement, I have the date for my next YouTube live stream, which will be me live streaming with a few bourbons, no ice. So that will be July 28th. Please do head over to my Twitter and Facebook pages for information on timings and stuff. It's a Sunday. It'll probably be in the evening time, you know, British time. So if you would like to join me for that, please do. It's usually a lot of fun. It's usually just kind of me getting slowly drunk while answering a lot of questions from people, which I really enjoy. So yes, please do stay tuned for more news on that. And until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.